Good morning, folks. Today, I think I'm going to talk about fear, and I'm going to introduce another concept with fear called flow state. Now, obviously, I reflect on my yesterday while I'm cooking and having my morning coffee. So, this is the time. I'm a bit late today, 6 o'clock almost. So, today, my plan is to cook mushroom, pak choi, and this thing called prawn. And today my cooking medium is duck fat. And I went last weekend with my daughter to see a concert. One second. Till my coffee is ready. Yes, switch off. Beethoven, Ninth Symphony. My daughter loved it to the bit. And we went to Royal Festival Hall, and there's a food court, and we had this amazing Thai food there, which is kind of like this. I'm trying to recreate that. They use soy sauce, and I'm not going to use that. So obviously things will be a little bit different. I'm going to use some kind of Mexican type thingy powder and little bit of piri piri. Piri piri is bite-sized chili and a bit of jalapeno. And I'm going to drop some, I'm a kind of king of innovation. So that's that. And I'm going to pour some of this juice. This is a bone broth coming from the water that is left over by my wife after she boiled the chicken for our dog Coffee gets boiled chicken. He's so pampered. Normally my wife throws this out in the sink, but since I learned the magnificent benefit of bone broth with the magnesium, calcium, and all the interesting chemicals, I'm using this to cook other stuff, like use it as a water. It's very nice smell and gives a fullness in the flavor of your dish. Anyway, so let's fry this while I pour my coffee. 1 second. Now heat up and fry this. This is already kind of half cooked anyway because I microwave it to thaw it. So let's whiten it up a little bit. This is already. I'm going to switch off the burner and let me keep it here. Give one more stir. Now, what is a flow state and what is the relation between flow state and fear? It doesn't make sense because flow state, as we know, is a very pleasant, almost addictive state, although we don't like to use the word addictive because it has got bad connotation, implication. But a flow state is when you are extremely absorbed into something, like you have got a 200% focus into something, which is not too easy, not too difficult. Like normally athletes talk about flow, being in the zone. The musicians, when they're playing drums or piano, they're in the flow. Rock climber. So there's some of physicality into it, but the most important thing is intense attention, like a chess player, where there's not much physicality. It is all the brain movement. Also, if you're a racing car driver, you might be in flow state because you've got your attention is wrapped around one thing. Like when I cook, it's like this is my flow thing. Different people have got different flows. Some may get their flow playing golf, some may get their flow getting windsurfing. So my flow is when I teach and when I cook, when I talk, when I read. That's my flow state. And I can get totally absorbed. When you are in flow state, your brain releases 5 extremely potent chemicals in the brain, like dopamine, like norepinephrine, serotonin. So all of this is extremely feel-good chemical in your brain, and it also gives motivation, innovation. It shuts down your frontal cortex, called transient hypofrontality. Now normally you think that to perform better we need to use more of the brain, because there is a saying that we use a very little amount of brain, which is not true. Because when you are in the flow state, you produce the best results. Actually, your frontal lobe shuts down a bit because you go deep. You are now pulling out all your subconscious learning of all these years, and you are making decisions extremely quickly, but most of the time it is a right decision. And I mentioned about a bicycle, when you're learning how to ride a bicycle, when you're all focused into that, but you are so rusty. Whereas if you're a learned bicycle rider, you're not even thinking and you're riding way better than the other person. So it's going to become automatic, subconscious. Your body knows what to do, even if your mind doesn't. Does it make sense? So flow state is extremely good. It's a very high neurochemical state in the brain, and we want this. We like this. And if you enter deliberately into flow state, then you can cut short your learning time by at least by half. So you don't have to spend 10,000 hours to become master and to have autonomy like what is the name of the person? Gladwell, Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hour rule. You don't have to spend 10,000 hours. If I can artificially induce flow in you, you can almost half or maybe 1/3 time you can do the same thing, because your attention is like laser sharp. You're not thinking about the whole world disappeared. Yourself, your ego has disappeared. Time has disappeared, because all of these are frontal lobe function. Your ego, your time, your rest of the world, all gone. You're just in one thing. So this is a tremendous beneficial. Now, what happens when you're very afraid? Your attention gets high up, and you get the same neurochemical. Interestingly, when somebody is extremely scared, the amygdala gets activated. Amygdala is the fear center in the center of the brain, and when amygdala gets activated, amygdala sends signal to a part of the brain called periaqueductal gray matter near the aqueduct. Interestingly, that then releases some enkephalines, which is a very powerful pain chemicals, anti-pain chemicals, because body is thinking that you might. One second. So let me drain this now. Okay, so let me switch it off, because these are done. I just need to fry the mushrooms, and this you don't fry because this is very soft. So let me transfer so that it drains a bit more, and this can just drain here, can't it? Yeah. Anyway, so the PUG, periaqueductal gray matter, then secretes enkephalins, which is like endorphins, so that your pain sensation is blunted, because when you're scared, you may have to fight or run, etc. So it is good to have a little bit of endorphin. And also amygdala stimulates your dopamine and dopaminergic areas, because you need a lot of motivation to run away from the danger or whatever. So the flow experts are now thinking, can we link fear with flow? So using a bad concept, like not a bad concept, nobody wants to be afraid or be fearful. So use that to instigate or stimulate flow state. And this is an expert level manipulation of your brain. And maybe you are not ready, maybe you are, but you need to find out more about it. So other interesting thing is that this periaqueductal gray matter is very closely linked to oculomotor nerve nuclei, the cranial nerve that controls your eye movement. And I have told you in yesterday's video that doing a lateral eye movement is called EMDR, eye movement, EMDR, desensitization reflex. So basically, when you talk about your fearful stuff or bad experience in life or PTSD, if you keep moving your eye right to left, then you deactivate your fear center. That's amazing, isn't it? So basically, you talk about the bad stuff, but you keep doing that, and that kind of disconnects the bond between the experience itself, which is maybe fearful experience, and the emotional repercussions. So normally, if you think about that PTSD experience, you feel afraid, agitated, yeah? But now, as you are talking about this to your therapist, you are just doing this, and then it cuts off the emotional tie. So even if you're talking about the bad stuff, you're not feeling that emotionally excited. It's called EMDR. So there's a lot of interesting thing. One second, my alarm keeps going off on my watch. So a lot of interesting thing you can harness from your brain if you know how to make your brain work, how to reprogram your brain. So bottom line is your memory probably will never go of the scary moment that you have gone through, but you don't have to be slave to that scary moment. You can cut all the emotional ties and then take that scary moment and make it a challenge, gamify it. So if your scary moment is that you fell from a height, you be the expert rock climber. If your scary moment is you almost drowned like I did in a swimming pool because you didn't know how to swim, that your thing, if you want to gamify that fear, first desensitize by EMDR, and there are many other techniques, and then be the expert in that field, conquer your fear, because you can never eliminate the fear. You have to replace your fear. Does it make sense? And it's a huge topic, how you can eliminate or conquer or change your fear. And interestingly, obviously this is a prescription area. This is a very new concept, that if you can induce a flow state as you are delivering this concept, then it is way faster. So if I can make you to do something really okay, so suppose you never done surfing, windsurfing, and if I make you do windsurfing, and as you are doing windsurfing, you are getting in a high, and then I transfer that high into treating your PTSD. Does it make sense? Now there are some centers, I think in America, they're using medicinal products, which is kind of bad medicine so far because of addiction potential, and the scientists are using that to generate flow state in the brain and then treat PTSD. So this is very early days. Ayahuasca is another of those medicine that the shamans, I mean, the village or tribe guru, who is a spiritual guru, they, I think they're called shamans. I'm getting confused. Anyway, in Amazon forest, then you generate that brain state in which there are all the neurochemicals are very high. You're feeling good, almost like spiritual bliss type state, and then you come back to your fearful state and change your fear into a no fear. Does it make sense? So some of the stuff that I'm telling you, you may have never heard, but just go to YouTube or Wikipedia or Google and find out a little bit more how we can manipulate our brain for our own good. Because a mental health problem, particularly after COVID pandemic, is like suddenly skyrocketed, because COVID has just exposed all the weak areas of our living and mind and body, metabolic syndrome. So if you want to be healthy, just wake up your brain, wake up your body, be compassionate, be helpful to others, love others. Hatred, suspicion is just going to kill your brain and your body, nobody else, So that's, I think, enough. My day 2 fear talk, how to win your fear, conquer your fear. And the other thing, if you want to have good health, ensure you're eating a lot of vegetables. Otherwise, you'll never have good health. Good gut health starts from eating vegetables, eating less processed food, eating hot food, like when I say hot, I mean newly cooked food, not like a food microwaved again and again from the fridge. And this is radish, mulo, and I'm going to do a mulo chechki. Mulo chechki is, I'm going to grate it in my grater, and then I'm going to fry it with this and some red chilies. It'll be really yummy. So here goes my butter coffee. Careful, hot stuff. Oopsie. And more hot water. It's called parallax error. When you are looking at your hot water through the lens of the camera, you misjudge the distance, and that's what happened, that I spilled a little bit of coffee. Anyway, so I have poured this Mexican masala into this. It has got oregano, so I can smell it. So it will give a nice flavor. I think my kids will love it, my wife will love it. Now let me put my this thing, not now, little bit later. Let's drop some jalapenos here. I know my daughter will selectively find this and throw it in the bin. What can I do? Heat up. Time to drop my herbs and my pak choys. And now it is almost done. Now I can focus on this. So this thing is done. I haven't named it yet. I will make a name because this is my recipe. I have used chicken broth in a Chinese dish or Thai dish, and I made my own twist into it by adding some Italian herbs and Mexican spice, which nobody will try probably. It's almost like blasphemy. And here we go. So I decided not to make Mulo chechki because I'm a bit lazy, and because I realized that it will take 1 year before I can grate all of this. So unfortunately I have put my food processor in the garage because I was not using it for a little while. So I'm improvising. This is a different kind of dish. I hope it will be fine. And I decided to make a chutney out of these jalapenos. So my mulo bhaji is almost ready. This in itself is such a delicious item. You can eat it with chapati, or you can eat it on its own, or mostly I would like to serve this to you with dal, lentil curry and mulo bhaji. This is very beneficial for gut, very cooling, calming for gut. However, it is got some fermentable stuff, so it may cause a little bit of bloatedness if you are blocked up. If you're not blocked up, then this is fine. This is very good. So 2 vegetables, a little bit of prawn there though, the chicken broth, and my mischievous intention of mixing this jalapeno with my special chutney, which has got funny stuff in it anyway. Yesterday something glorious happened in my hospital. We did our first NJ tube insertion training, nasojejunal tube. So if somebody has got problem with their stomach, we can feed them through a feeding tube through the nose into the jejunum, deep into the small intestine. So far we used to do this process with sedation, endoscopy, which is quite invasive, but now we can do this in the bedside. I will share a picture of the team who got trained yesterday, led by Sue McIntyre, a nutrition practitioner. It will be so good for our patients and us as well. We'll save a lot of endoscopy slots and do endoscopy for those patients who actually need endoscopy. And all the NJ tube, hopefully, other than some tricky ones maybe, will go through this pathway from now onwards. This is true innovation, true progress using technology to advance medicine. It's the same stuff that we have been using to guide our colonoscope, like a scope guide, we call it. Same technology, but somebody used it for other end. Anyways, I'm going to switch off now because it is 6:30. I need to go to hospital. So have a lovely day. Think about flow state, how you can induce flow state. There are 20 known triggers of flow state. You need to investigate those triggers and see which trigger you can activate to improve your productivity by 500%. More than productivity, it actually is well known for creativity and innovation, parallel thinking and pattern recognition. That's probably most majestic. Productivity wise, it will do quality stuff, but not in terms of volume of work probably. I don't know. Maybe it will also, but anyway, let's see. Watch the space. Have a lovely day.